The 1997 Asian financial crisis may have been a bitter memory in Malaysia's history. However, we as a nation stood up to the challenge and recovered well as a result of this experience, and this is something that we should be proud of. The pegging of the ringgit to the US dollar to counter rogue currency trading was central to the selective exchange control measures instituted at the time. The GLC Transformation Program was another key initiative to help strengthen corporate governance and transparency in key national investment companies. Central to all these measures, and very much the mastermind to help articulate these, was a mild-mannered gentleman. An economist by qualification, Tan Sri Noor Mohamed Yakcop advised the then Prime Minister Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad on what best to do. These measures went against the flow of measures by other troubled Asian economies who succumbed to the whims of the IMF. The rest is now history. On this special episode of Cuba Cerita, we listen to Tan Sri Noor Mohamed Yakcop's stories. We reflect on what we learned from that piece of history and hear his words of wisdom and advice on challenges we face today. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri, thank you for joining us and tell us more of your stories on Cuba Cerita. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Cuba Cerita. Today is actually a very special episode. If I can share with you, when we first came up with the idea for Cuba Cerita, and even the first theme, which was the DNA of nation building, there was only one person I had in mind. And this gentleman was, so kind to join us today. It took a long while before we could finally get Tan Sri's time. So please, let's all together welcome Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Noor Mohamed Yakcop. Assalamualaikum Tan Sri.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Azman.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tan Sri. I know officially you retired from Khazanah at the end of last year, but I do still know that you are just so busy. There's so many people who do take up your time, and thank you so much for giving us some of your time here this morning. It's a real pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Tan Sri, I just also want to let you know that when word got out that you'll be a guest on our podcast, people were generally excited because they also know of the history of your contribution to the nation, particularly at the time of the Asian financial crisis of the late 90s, and how maybe today we are also going through a similar type of challenge, which may be similar in the fabric of it, but the very nature may be slightly different. But today, Tan Sri, it's really about to hear your stories. As we spoke before this program, I said, Tan Sri, it's such a pleasure having you in the first place. Yes, we do have a sort of like a storyline that we have with other guests. But today, Tan Sri, I really just welcome you to say whatever you feel is relevant to what you'd like to say.
Thank you very much, Azman. Of course, it's a pleasure coming here, and I remember discussing this with you many months ago. Today, what I want to do is basically give a broad panorama-like view of where we came from at independence, where we are now. And that I think is important, because unless you know where you come from and where you are, how do you decide where to go, and how do you decide how to go there? So history is important, and fortunately for me, I'm in that generation which was born before independence, saw independence as almost teenager, and caught the huge upward mobility of Malaysia from the 1970s until today. We have seen it all. We know what happened, and we know this fascinating story of Malaysia, really fascinating. from poverty to reasonable prosperity. I want to share that story.
Please do, Tan Sri.
Because the story itself is important, but what is more important is that what comes out of the story, the confidence that we get because we have met challenges, huge challenges, and have overcome them, should be a good guide for us to go into the future. Of course, the future is not the same. Challenges are new, technology is new, the international geopolitical environment is new. Much is new, and yet much is also the same because the human ability to move on is the same. And I believe that we have proven to ourselves, most of all, and to proven to others that we have what it takes to build a nation. So we may start from 1957. We became independent.
Okay.
We became independent after 446 years because we lost our independence in 1511 when the Portuguese came. Alfonso, the book, came in 1511, and there we were, the very prosperous Malacca Empire in the middle of that whole trading region, suddenly gone. And after the Portuguese came the Dutch and the English and the Japanese and the English again, and in the northern states the Thais. So we were under colonial rule for 446 years. But finally, Alhamdulillah, in 1957 we became independent. That was a major milestone in our life. We became independent. So when we became independent, there were other countries in the world that also became independent. That was a period of the British giving independence and others giving independence. So Ghana became independent, Sri Lanka became independent, Nigeria became independent. So most of the IMF papers, if you read at that time, they said that this Sri Lanka, Philippines, Ghana was about same time as us, will be the prosperous ones. Malaysia will not progress because they have too many problems. They have so many races and this and that. They don't have adequate number of qualified people. So they wrote us off. This is the IMF records. And of course IMF was wrong. It's not the first time they are wrong. They are wrong many times, but this is one of those times they are wrong. But I think the founding fathers of our nation, Tunku, Tun Razak, they made a few important decisions, and I want to share them with here today because not many people remember them. And after my generation, I think almost nobody will really give due credence to these important decisions made at the beginning, made at the dawn of our history. One, we decided to be an open society. While the fashion at that time, in the 1950s, 60s, for countries which became independent, was to be a socialist. So much socialist. And there was a fashion. And close. They don't want to trade outside, don't want to import. Close and socialist, and not parliamentary democracy was not the preferred mode of government. So we decided interestingly that we will be open, we will trade with all, we'll be open-minded, we will have parliamentary democracy, and we will have capitalism as our system of economy. And we decided early, and this is very interesting, that we will not have gender bias. Can you imagine it? When we became independence, we said no gender bias at all. Any person, any boy or girl can go to the top. Of course, there were not many girls in government because schools were not many. Also, even for schools, but boys were not many. But once the schools were built, and that was one of the first priorities, build schools.
Yes.
In fact, someone said first cabinet meeting was about schooling, which was great, and health. So now the girls are doing very well. There's no glass ceiling, and from 1957 they can vote. Do you know in Mexico, today we have a lady president.
Yes.
They gave the authority to vote only in 1971.
Goodness.
No, sorry, 71 years ago.
Yeah, 71 years ago.
So we were earlier.
Yeah.
We were earlier, or very late. But they had a decision between giving vote and not giving. We never had. Say, oh yes,
We were always
and we said,
open.
oh, always open.
Mm.
So while other countries were worrying at independence about what ism, socialism, what ism, and the role of women in society,
Uh-huh.
to us this is all behind me. We had no problem. So we started well. But we are a poor country. It's strange, Malaysia with tin and oil and it's actually a very rich country. Azman, let me tell you a secret.
Please.
The whole of World War II,
Uh-huh.
the British, their success is depend on the money they made from Malaya.
Really?
The tin and rubber in Malaya
Yes.
was so much that was the critical factor in helping them to win the war. Of course, there were other factors, the raid, Normandy,
Yes.
D-Day, bravery.
Mm-hmm.
But the money came from us.
Mm.
And yet, when we became independent in 1957,
Mhm.
we were poor.
Mm.
How poor we were? 51% of the Malaysian population were poor. Malayan population, 57.
Okay.
So 5 out of 10 Malayan in Peninsular Malaysia, because Sarawak, Sabah belum masuk
Belum
lagi,
lagi. Mm-hmm.
were poor.
Mm.
And then the income was something like 206 ringgit per month. 206, 207 ringgit.
Mm-hmm.
80% of the people stayed in rural areas
Areas.
where the infrastructure was very bad.
Mm.
And many people feel that at that time in independence, the non-Malay stayed in town and the Malay stayed in kampung.
Kampongs.
That's not true.
Okay.
While almost 90% of Malays stayed in kampung,
Yes.
10% in town,
Town.
65% of the Indians
Uh-huh.
stayed in rural because they stayed in estate.
Yes.
So the commercial, the class, the civil servants, junior civil servants, clerks, people working in telecom,
Mm-hmm.
tenaga and all that, they stayed in town.
Mm-hmm.
But the bulk of them stayed in rural. Same with the Chinese. More than 50% of Chinese at independence stayed in the kampung, the new villages,
Yes.
growing vegetables.
Yes.
Only some the businessmen and some civil servants stayed here. And the Malays, there were some Malays, civil servants, stayed in town. But the bulk was rural. So when you imagine at our independence, it was great to be independence of the 446 years. And we want unity. Imagine the challenge of the founding fathers to bring about this unity, which they brought about, which we celebrate today. Because not only were the Malays, Chinese, Indians living in different parts,
Mm-hmm.
estate,
Mm-hmm.
kampung, new village, town, speaking their own language,
Yes.
their own culture, they were also economically completely different.
Mm.
The Chinese were little commerce and a little bit of fishing, vegetable farming. Malays were paddy farmers and nelayan.
Mm-hmm.
Indians were rubber estate
estates.
and civil servants, junior civil servants. And among them, all the professionals was very low. There were some Indian professional, Malay professional,
Yes.
Chinese professional was very low. So this became very clear by 1970, 13 years.
13 years.
13 years after independence, 1970, the figures have not changed. Something is wrong. The poverty, which was 51% in 1957, was 49%. 1970,
almost the same,
13 tahun kemudian.
Mm.
And the salary income, monthly income, which was 206, became 260. Is average. The Malays were
Yes.
even worse.
Yes. Yes.
So then, it was then that people like Tun Razak, I think he is basically a major hero in our story, came out with the new economic policy that we have to do things differently and etc. One of the most important decisions made was, but before I tell you the decision made,
Okay.
I must tell you that our mind was open,
Yes.
which is why we don't adopt socialism,
Yes.
capitalism, parliamentary democracy, and we do not want to believe in ideology. We are not an ideological country.
Okay.
We are a pragmatic country.
Pragmatic country.
So we just do what works, and
Okay.
when we find that what doesn't work, we cut loss and change. So this is the fascinating story. 1970, we changed our economic model. We stuck to capitalism, but that part of capitalism which is called laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means the government concentrate on growth and don't worry about distribution. The growth will trickle down and all boats will be lifted.
Okay.
It didn't work. Actually, in life it doesn't work. But these Westerners still believe in laissez-faire. So we realized early, 13 years, doesn't work. So none of the boats were lifted. The rich became richer. So we said, no, our policy is not laissez-faire. Our policy, laissez-faire is concentrates on growth. Our policy from now onwards is growth and distribution. Growth and equity.
Okay.
So that is a major shift in our life, 1970. And what we are today depend on that decision made. And that decision was made because we decided to be pragmatic. Anything that works, okay. Doesn't work, okay. We have no ideology of, we must stick to this, we must stick to that. Very practical. Progressive pragmatism. Progressive pragmatism and balance. This was what we were. So we decided that we need growth, yes. Without growth, how can we distribute? We need growth, but we will have better distribution. And then we made another important decision, which some newly independent countries did not make. We said we will not take from Peter to give Paul. If you want to distribute, you want everybody to have a share of the pie. Actually, what we wanted to do is to make sure that everybody can come to the starting line without handicap.
Okay.
If you can't even come to the starting line, how can you start the race?
Yes.
So this is affirmative action. This is giving the opportunity, equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Not everything can be the same, but equality of opportunity. So we did many things. But one thing we said very clearly to everybody is we will not take from Peter to give to Paul. If Peter is very rich, like we say, Peter gives some money, I give to Paul. No, we will not do that. We will do the distribution based on an expanding pie. So the pie, we will grow the pie so big, the extra pie, the newly created pie, we will distribute a little bit more for the disadvantage. That's what we did. Okay, so we start the story. So 1970, to look back, 49% poor. Average income 260. Professional very little. Malay lagi lah rendah. Example, doctors 79. Malay doctors.
79
Malay doctors.
Malay doctors.
Yeah.
Sahaja.
And that includes Tun Mahathir and his wife. If you don't include Tun Mahathir and his wife, only 77. And even the Chinese Indian, the number is minimal. So we want to create professional, we want to do this. First, you have to transform the economy. Because our economy was dependent on oil and tin. The British have made tons of money out of it. But you cannot go on the rest of your life just depending on two products. So we diversified to other agricultural products. Palm oil, cocoa. Timber, etc. So we diversified. But basically not yet industrial products. The first part. And then we built schools. Schools all over the country. And I've told you my own story. When I was young, there was no secondary school. I had to go to take a ferry from Bagandalam to Penang. But by 70s, etc., we start building the school.
Yes.
The villages had no electricity, no water. My village in Bagandalam had certainly no water and no electricity. So I had to read my books by the side of the Jalan Sungai Nyok.
So I heard that story too. So it's true.
It's true. So my mother said at night you must read before you sleep. There was no electricity. So I walked down to Jalan Sungai Nyok. There was electricity in front of the dockyard.
Wow.
So I just bacalah 1-2 jam. But now the children don't have to do that. The electricity, api, ayak, semua ada.
Take for granted, kan?
That's good. It is good. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We have done well. So that we did the transformation schools. So we brought the bright young students wherever they were. Anak nelayan di Bacok katakan,
Yes.
anak buruh kasar. All these people, we brought them all over, built these MRSM schools, and Dr. Wahab Alwi was one of those who was the champion of this. And then they did very well in MRSMs, and then we sent them to the best school in Malaysia and overseas, and they came back, and they lifted themselves out of poverty, and they lifted their parents and grandparents out of poverty.
And future generations.
And future generations of poverty. So that was a major. And then we knew that in our country there were people without land. They were land hungry. Many people, anywhere in the world, elsewhere in the world too, they're land hungry, but there are no major schemes. We were the first one under Tun Razak.
Yes.
To do the Felda scheme. Bring people all over, give them land, and their children are now second, third generation doctors, lawyers,
corporate
surgeons, corporate leaders. So that was great, and then nobody has followed us on that. We set up PNB. We set up PNB so that the share of the equity wealth can be shared by as many people as possible. You know, at that time when we set up to do this great change, to eradicate poverty and to make sure that every segment of the society enjoys the benefits of growth, the Bumiputra equity in the equity market was only 2%.
2% saja.
The equity market itself was small.
Yes.
And Bumiputra only 2% or were very small.
Wow.
So we were, as I said before, progressive pragmatism and balance. So we didn't say, because Bumiputra is more than 50%, we want 50%. It's difficult. We say 30%. And that 30% also was calculated in such a way that even the Chinese, and this has not been told before, maybe this is the first time people are saying it. You know, when we look at 1970, Bumi 2%.
Yes.
Chinese 30% and the foreigners 60%. Okay. The Chinese ratio under NEP, we said Chinese must increase, not decrease.
Must increase, yes.
From 30 to 40.
Yes.
That is written. But so Chinese, it's
growing
very
pie.
inclusive, but it's a growing pie.
Yeah.
So Chinese from 30 to 40, Malays from 2 to 30, the foreigners from 60, 70 to 30. So it was an aspiration, and we may not have reached it to the full, but we have gone far, because 2% of a lower small cake, now the cake is so big, and of course it is better distributed. But the important is the professionals. The professionals, there were among doctors, lawyers, engineers, there were few, all races, but Malays much fewer still. But today the number of professionals, including Malays, is very, very illuminating, and we have done extremely well. But one of the qualities that brought us here, this pragmatism and open-mindedness, is the other is that we are brave,
determined,
very determined, but we are also like to do things one step at a time, and very importantly, we do not make the perfect enemy of the good.
Enemy of the good.
Some people say, ni tak boleh buat lah sebab tak kena, and nothing is, so cannot perfect. We say never mind. If it's not perfect, you do something good, slowly become perfect lah. You don't not do it because you cannot be perfect. The good example is Islamic banking.
Okay.
So in 1970s, late 1970s particularly, the whole world was talking about Islamic banking. Seminar di sana sini, but nobody was doing Islamic banking. None.
All plans and talks.
So the only country that did Islamic banking was Malaysia. So we decided, okay, let's do Islamic banking. We didn't even know quite what exactly Islamic banking, but I was in charge. I was in charge of Islamic banking Bank Negara, 1981. So we did Islamic banking, and we said, okay, we start with simple. We know it's not going to be perfect. Inshallah, one day it will be perfect, but today it's not simple. We just have a system of Islamic banking. What's the objective? For the Muslims to enjoy the benefits of modern banking without involving usury, without involving riba. Itu saja, bagi opportunity to enjoy Islamic banking without riba. So we opened one Islamic bank called Bank Islam Malaysia, and then for the next 10 years, I and my friends work on the instruments. So after 10 years, we are all ready. We open up Islamic banking. Any bank can open up Islamic window throughout the country. What is the purpose? The purpose to have a dual system.
Right.
So in Malaysia, we have a dual system, and Alhamdulillah, since 1993 until now, 44.6% of all banking assets are Islamic. So it's dual.
MashaAllah.
We have conventional,
almost half.
we have almost half. And in the case of Sukuk, it's more than half. It's over 60%. So we have achieved, but we achieve step by step. But people say, oh, it's not fully Islamic and all that. It's okay. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So in many ways, this has been our philosophy. Don't let the enemy be perfect. I think it should go on in this way. Okay. Any questions so far?
No. I mean, I'm so amazed that all of this has been has been there.
Yes.
And philosophically, we've been a very passionate nation. Actually, just going ahead. Obviously, with the level of knowledge and expertise, also we were more confident in our ways. But Tan Sri, may I ask, in those days, was it common to have these think tanks and groups of people coming together, devising these schemes and just going ahead with it?
I think
or was it maybe the strength of a certain few sahaja?
No, we were very lucky, particularly one person. Of course, there were many leaders. Like, I'd like to mention Tun Razak, because he was there in the early days as a very strong deputy to Tunku. And later, when Mahathir became the Prime Minister, Mahathir did say publicly that his true icon, true hero was Tun Razak. And Pala became Prime Minister. I remember that he was telling us in the cabinet that Najib may be the biological son of Tun Razak. I'm the political son. That's a very strong statement.
Wow.
But I want to read to you what Tun Razak said in 1964. Defines the man and defines our country. To answer your question.
Please.
This quote,
Yes.
to Dr. Razak, 1964. Our development plan is national in character, national in intent, national in scope. We carry out development in accordance with priorities because it is our intention first and foremost to give all our people of all races, wherever they live, the basic amenities of life. The basic amenities of life. And to raise their standard of living so that they can live as decent, civilized human beings. So that's what
This was in 1964. MashaAllah.
And that has defined what we are and what we have brought the nation. So today, where are we today? We have achieved the status of high middle income. Poverty, which was 49% in 1970, is single digit. Hardcore poverty, basically none. Income, which was 260 in 1970, is 9,000. In real terms, of course, 260 could buy more than 260 today. But if in real terms, we are about 6 times better. 6 times better. And the rural-urban migration has taken place.
Yes.
So in 1970, 80% rural, 20% urban. Now it's the other way around. 80% urban, 20% rural. Is that good? In a way, it's good because the facilities in urban are always better than rural. So more people have the urban facilities available to them. And the electricity, water, my kampong like mine, there is no more issue.
Yeah.
Literacy rate was very low in 1970. Less than 30% were even primary educated. Now 90 or 99, 90 over certainly are literate, and many of them have degrees, and the number is increasing. So here we are. Going forward, what are the challenges? I think we have to go back to what Tun Razak said. Tun Razak explained in 1964. And the important words to me, decent, civilized human beings. Their standard of living, improve their standard of living so that they can live as decent, civilized human beings. So today, I think life is very simple. I think the government's life also is quite simple. So I think, I was there once, I'm no more there in the government. But he just said, okay, what is it that we need to do to make sure that all Malaysians can live a decent, civilized life? Okay. One man by the name of Walter Lippmann is a famous journalist who lived and wrote in the 20th century. Walter Lippmann. He once said, "Do you know why old men plant trees?"
Do you know why old men plant trees?
No. Why do old men plant trees?
Okay.
Old men, they're very old, plant trees. By the time the tree bears fruit, he will be dead.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But he still plants trees.
Yes.
So he plants trees so that the new generation can enjoy the fruits of his generation. That's why old men plant trees. And young men die in battle. Why young men die in battle? For what? For the next generation. So the point about Walter Lippmann saying that is that when the government thinks that about society, it is very clear in our mind, who are we thinking about? Are we thinking that we will do all this for the people who are above 18 so that they can vote for us? That's one way of doing it. Or you think that we'll do all this for everybody, all Malaysians, even below 18, so that it is more inclusive. I think it should be more than that.
More than that.
It should be them, above 18 voters, below 18 would be voters, and the next generation, and the next generation. That's the community. That's Walter Lippmann's point. Old men planting trees. So we, fortunately, in the Malaysian system, we have this 5-year plan. Other countries don't have. In fact, even the communist countries which used to have don't have. So they say we are about the only country. Maybe one or two have. But that's very important because that 5-year plan makes us think more than beyond 1 year.
Okay.
And then we have the 10-year perspective plan. And then we have long-term plan like Vision 2020 or whatever plan. So we have to think long-term. That we have been doing, fortunately. And then that we should carry on doing. And then to live a dignified life, you need income. We have done so much. Everyone has worked together, government, the society as a whole, to eradicate poverty. Well done, actually. But there is a group of people known as vulnerable. What do you mean by vulnerable? Vulnerable means they are not poor, they are above poor, but if anything not so lucky happens to them, they can fall.
Oh, vulnerable.
And then,
sorry.
if you ask them to raise 1,000 ringgit, emergency today, they don't have the
They
means
don't
to raise 1,000 ringgit. So that is their group. I think in terms of Tun Razak's definition, dignified, decent life, you have to get these people above so that
This
they are not
vulnerable group.
to be able to earn a decent income, not on the border. They are on the above the border, so therefore not classified as poor. But they are 11% of them. They are about 850,000 families. So, but not many people are talking about them, focusing on them. I think we should. I mean, we should. The government, the people, NGOs.
So this is beyond the terminology of B40, for example?
This is a subsector of B40.
Subsector of B40.
B40 is very big.
Yeah,
But this
exactly.
is the key sector of B40. So I think we should. How do we do that? Okay. One way to do that is to increase income.
Okay.
We have increased income over the years from 260 to 8,000 per average income. Of course, in median it's slightly less. But somehow we have not. If there's one thing the nation can do more, is that we should focus on progressive salary. Somehow our salary level has not kept up with the cost of living. For example, you could 1970 you can buy a good, very nice house in PJ for 52,000. Now it's like 4-5 million. Your salary has not gone up that much.
Exactly.
So, but some people worry that if we increase the salary too much, the investors may not come in, etc. I don't think that is true. I think the investors will come in, and we need to go towards this regime of progressive
salary.
And the government is doing that. If we do not have progressive salary, you know what will happen? If the people do not have enough money to buy and to live, Tun Razak's words, dignified, civilized life, they will have to depend on subsidies. But the government wants to rationalize subsidies for a very good reason, because subsidy is very blunt, and a lot of people misuse subsidy.
Yes.
People who shouldn't get subsidy. The smugglers make money subsidy, the foreigners make money. So the government is doing the right thing. Subsidy should be rationalized. But we don't want our Malaysians to depend on subsidies either. They should be given a higher salary so that they can live a dignified. That is one. Number two, when you don't have high salary, it may be difficult for you to buy a house, because we find that our household debt is one of the highest in the world, 90%.
Exactly.
90% is very high. Household debt of 90% is one of the highest in the world. It's bad. But because your salary is so low, when you want to buy a house, sometimes you can't afford. The affordable house according to international standard is 3.5 times your
basic
annual salary.
3.5
times annual salary. Ours is mainly here 5 times. So
exactly.
So in the way unaffordable. But of course you have to buy a house now. Without house, then you don't feel so safe or secure. So what is happening now is, when I was young, that was not so long ago, I bought a house. My repayment was 15 years. Normal
15 years, okay.
Beli kereta 3 tahun, 3 years. Beli rumah 15 tahun. You know, now you want to buy a house, it's 30 years.
Or it may become like the Japanese, it may last your lifetime.
Yeah. So that is called financialization. So this financialization of our system is something to look at. It doesn't seem right.
Well, I mean, it boils down to equity lah. At the end of the day, affordability and I guess it's always that supply demand equation to cater for again. But I think, Tansi, what you're sharing is a lot of, how would I say, simple ideas, which somehow or rather the challenges of implementing those ideas, or this pragmatism to go with those sort of thoughts, is maybe somewhat lacking nowadays. I don't know. It seems to be a lot of hesitancy, a lot of questioning, a lot of doubt sometimes. You know.
But I think the answers are easy.
Mm.
And if you want to, when people talk about Tun Razak again,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that when you say, oh, Tun Razak, what is that comes to your minds? Is a serious and focus.
Yeah.
Serious focus. So we can, of course, we have all the best minds in now, all trained in best universities.
Mm.
So we are serious and focused. We can overcome these major challenges.
Mm.
To summarize, one, the income has to be higher,
Yes.
so that they can lead a better life. The houses have to be affordable. We have to work with the because there's a mismatch. People build houses, others can't afford, so there are lots.
And
of
they're
houses.
also not selling them well
Well,
anyway. Yeah.
And this idea of building houses for 230,000 and giving it to them, giving to people at 30, and then just walking away, and the lift cannot work. This is and the whole area become a slum.
Mm.
This one doesn't work. I think you have to get out of it.
Yeah.
And also to build, as I said, to build houses that are affordable.
Mm.
To make sure that the school system is such that the best education, like what we gave before, is given, and that roads and are built so that the distance between the schools and the houses are not far away. That all that has been done quite well.
Yeah.
But the one area that I just want to emphasize before I conclude, open for question, is that because our salaries are low, we have no saving.
Mm-hmm.
So in Malaysia, we divide the population into 3 groups. One is a pensioner. Okay, I'm a pensioner juga lah. So dapatlah pension sikit-sikit lah, tak banyak. Dapat sikit pension tiap-tiap bulan. Okay. Cikgu semua dapat, yang kerja kerajaan dapat lah, okay lah.
Mm-hmm.
Then some people work in GLC, work in private sector semua, ada EPF.
Yes.
Okay, dapatlah EPF. But EPF is not much. In fact, it's not what the EPF thinks you need to stay alive. You pension 60 years old, you live up to 80 katakan, 20 years, you need about 240,000 when you pension. But people have only 20-30,000, so it's a problem. But at least they got some money lah. But there are a lot of people who don't have pension, don't have EPF. There's this missing middle. And there's 30-40%, 50% of the population. They don't have anything.
For that long-term saving.
After working, after pension, they have no money. They have no regular inflow. A small group of them have, because the government, of course, which is a very kind government, gives to the poor every month to welfare department.
Yeah.
Yang very poor lah kita bagi. So if you are not very poor, you don't get that, and then you don't have EPF, you don't have government, so you are in trouble. And the nation itself is becoming an aged nation.
Yes.
Aging nation, aged nation. Now like 15% going to be more than 60 years old. So the government has to think, how are these people going to live? The proportion is becoming more than 15%, and the number of children are becoming less.
Yes.
My grandfather's time, his family had 9 children. My time 4. Now is
1 or 2 if you're near.
On average, family of 4 is now like 3. One over child. There's not even replacement.
Yes.
So the replacement you have 2.1.
Yeah. Now.
It's like, so it's coming less. So you cannot depend on children. And then how are you going to live? So the government has to think of. I think the government has to think of a social insurance system, so that all people who retire will have at least some money from the social insurance to live, as dignified life.
Dignified, civilized lives.
So the government looking forward It's not simple, it's not complicated, it's quite simple. Just do the right things, focus, be serious.
And you say be pragmatic and
Pragmatic,
and
yeah,
determined.
Determined, and don't believe in ideology, just do what is right.
Yeah. Wow, Tan Sri, this is so much. I mean, so much food for thought, and I hope that
Just to
those
add,
are watching.
just to add on Islamic banking, I think nothing is impossible. So Islamic banking, everybody thought we cannot do, we do. But while we are doing Islamic banking, I always had this in mind. This pawn shop, the pawn shop is
gadai lah.
Pajak gadai. Those people who are really very poor cannot go to the bank lah. So they take whatever subang and go, and the place is actually the man is looking down at you. The way the thing is constructed, he's sitting on a platform looking down, take your thing. And it's real exploitation also. But anyway, what to do? You have no money. Interest rate is very high. So I always thought, why can't we do it in Islamic? When I was in charge of Islamic in Bengal 1980s. So we found it very difficult. Suddenly one day we found a solution. Because the pawnbroking came under, not under Bank Negara or MOF. That would have been easy.
Yes.
Came under Town Council.
Town Council?
The Town Council, in each council, gives the Pajak Gadai license.
The license.
So how can we in Bank Negara organize working with thousands? But somehow, one day, I saw that there was an exemption in the Act. Exemption was, cooperatives were exempted. So we say, okay, that is it. So Bank Negara called, I called Bank Rakyat and Perkim, and Bank Rakyat and someone else. But Bank Rakyat basically, we funded them. So they opened this Al-Ranu. We all our staff went to learn how to value gold and all that. And today it's like a 5-6 billion.
Yes,
can be done. So you put your mind to it,
can be done.
Okay, nothing is impossible.
And that it makes it more equitable again.
It's doing very well.
Very well. Yes. Tan Sri, before I lose this train of thought, in current times we are going through this challenge of where our currency lies against the major world currency of the US dollar. And I'm sure many of us thought about that period in '97, when we took measures. Of course, it was a period maybe different, which Tan Sri can elaborate. But what is it from that period that we learned that maybe is still applicable today?
Yeah, see, what basically happened in 97, 98 was that Thailand had some problem. And the Thai currency was attacked and devaluated. We didn't have any problem. But these Westerners, currency traders, they use a term called contagion. If Thailand has a problem, all the countries nearby must have problem. By don't know what definition, their definition. So Malaysia was attacked, Malaysian currency market was attacked, Indonesia was attacked, South Korea was attacked. And they had a lot of money to, the funds were very big, the manipulators were very big attack. So of course the famous story of me meeting myself, I met Tun Mahathir in Argentina.
Yes.
So he asked me to explain to him what all this. I explained to him, and then of course he understood, and I came back and worked with him for a year. And then we found the solution and we implemented it. Basically what we did was that we said that the foreigners cannot borrow currency to short currency. Cannot borrow. Because normally where do they have currency to short currency? They borrow. We stop the borrowing and we fix the exchange rate at 3.8. Actually, it is normally when you go into capital control, exchange control, people will take money out of the country. They don't takut, kan? So what we did, we read the mind of the people. By right, we should fix the exchange rate at 3.5.
Okay.
Because dulu sebelum itu 2.5.
Yes.
Then went to almost 5.
Yes.
So roughly it should be 3.5.
3.5.
But we fix it. I told Mother agreed. We fix it at 3.8.
Oh.
So when we fix it at 3.8, everybody say, 3.8 is too weak. It should be 3.5. And then we better bring in our money. Bring in money so that when evaluate become 3.5, then we will make money. So everybody brought money. So it's one of the few countries in the world we implement exchange control and capital control. Money came in. So because you read the mind,
Yes.
you have to understand. You read the mind, and then money came in and everything was back to normal. And we didn't make life difficult for anybody. You import export went free. Only exchange rate was fixed.
Yes.
For a while. Later you see again. We are not ideological, we are pragmatic. To explain that in the context of fixing, before 1971, all the currency in the world are fixed. I remember semasa sekolah, we have to memorize. 1 ringgit is 2 shilling. 1 ringgit is 2 shilling 4 pence. Memorize.
So it was fixed rates.
Fixed, all were fixed, because the dollar was fixed against gold.
Yes.
So everything was fixed. 1971, Nixon decided to float. He doesn't want his dollar to be tied to gold.
Float it.
So all the countries were panicking in the world. Don't know what to do. You know what Malaysia did? We float.
We floated.
We floated not because we think floating is better than fixing, but we knew that with the oil money and the issue of oil, prices of oil going up and all that, I think floating would be better. So we were one of the first to 1971 float, because we have no ideology. We do what is right.
Right.
So when we came to 1998, we have no ideology, fix or floating. Other people ideology, others say fix is bad, floating is good. We have no ideology, what is right. So we float. And then we go to fix. And it's fixed because we have no ideology. We think it's right thing.
Just go with it.
Go with it. And then of course when time is better, we float back. Now we float back. Same with this concept of deficit. You know, the IMF and the World Bank and some people in the West believe that deficit is bad, surplus is good. Surplus of budget lah. Budget, you know, you got budget. If you spend more than what your budget is called deficit budget.
Yes.
If you have a budget and you spend less, it's called surplus budget. So they say all the budgets must always be the surplus, cannot be deficit. That's sort of ideology. But we don't have ideology. We believe that it depends. When in a situation where the market has no confidence, like 1998, after all the crisis, the market have no confidence, the government will have to spend. Government have to spend. So that's the deficit budget.
Right.
When the market become confident, the government spend, then become surplus. So it depends. No ideology. So we are very flexible. Another example of flexible, Azman, is 1986. So you know, I was telling you the story. We depended on tin and rubber.
Yes.
And then it was too dangerous to depend on two products. So diversify into other agricultural products. In 1986, all the commodities merudum, harga merudum.
Yes.
And the government did not even have money to pay salary.
Wow.
I remember because I was a middle ranking officer in Bank Negara. I have to go to treasury every day to be part of the cash flow committee. Tengok ada duit tak nak bayar gaji semua.
Wow.
Susah. But the government very, very pragmatic and said, okay, what is it that we require for investors to come in quickly? Okay, we give them exemption to all the rules that we impose. Earlier under NEP we impose rules lah. The bumi, equity semua macam-macam. Mesti nyaman. For this we give you exemption. Your exemption came in 2 years settle. And the economy boom again. So example of pragmatic.
So today, with the circumstances that the country is facing, maybe I'm focusing on the weakening of our ringgit.
Okay. So today,
what may be pragmatic measures?
Correct. So that was then. We have done very well. We only did that since you asked. We only did that. then we made the corporates better. We
Mhm.
took the opportunity. Don't let the crisis go to waste.
Yes.
So 98 crisis, we solved the crisis and we didn't let the crisis go to waste. We set up a 10-year GLC Transformation Program
Yes.
dengan Azman Mokhtar
Yes.
as a secretariat. The property market, we made it strong. We had a fair where we sold more than 3 billion of properties. So everything was made better, and we came out very much stronger than when we went in. Today, the ringgit is there, 4.7. But there is no deliberate manipulation. There is no deliberate speculation. Nobody is borrowing ringgit to sell it.
Okay.
And the ringgit is not even weak in a sense because the dollar is strong.
The dollar is strong.
And why is the dollar strong? Two reasons. One, dollar is a reserve currency. Is a reserve currency, and everybody buys and sells dollars. You keep reserves in dollars. Central bank keeps a reserve currency. One reason. The other is every time there's a geopolitical conflict, people will go to safety. There's a term in economics: flight to safety. Flight to safety. So safety is normally gold and US dollar. That's safe, consistent. So people flight to safety. And now the world is almost in a mess, the geopolitical world. So it's natural that they flight to safety, and US dollar being a reserve currency all the more so. So to really see whether we are really weak or is it the dollar that's strong, so we compare ourselves to other currencies other than dollar.
Okay.
We are doing better than them.
We're doing better than them actually. All right.
So there's nothing to worry. Nothing to worry, and there's no speculation, there's no manipulation.
So unlike that period, different circumstances.
Oh, that period they were really speculating and they want to destroy us, and we fought them. We are the only country at that time that didn't borrow a single cent from IMF or World Bank and came out of it.
Yes.
Other
Successfully.
Other countries borrowed and all that. Didn't borrow, and we're very proud of that.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing time.
Yeah, amazing time.
Yeah,
and should give us confidence now.
Exactly.
We have undergone all that, and we should be able to. The challenges we are facing now looks real, looks big, but we can do it. Actually, the government of the day has it.
Yeah. The government of the day has it, and maybe the due confidence and support must be given. I think
government as a whole.
Government as a whole.
Government as a whole and people as a whole.
People as a whole. And I think this is my point of view, Tansi. I think today, maybe Malaysians, we are just finding reasons to point out contentious issues just for the sake of doing so. I don't know. Maybe it's a habit of today's society. I don't know how civilized we are. Sorry, I'm coming a bit upfront about this. I don't know how civilized we are, or we are not, and therefore, maybe I'm not in support of any particular, political party or regime. I'm supportive of any government that rules of the day. But we really need to sometimes allow for that pragmatism, that confidence, and support to continue. If not, we're just going to be continuously angry at ourselves. Maybe, I don't know.
But luckily for us, and because of the good policy on education, etc., we have in our midst today those who are 40 years old, mid 40, late 40, early 50s, a group of people of all races who are ready and willing to take over bigger challenges, to move up and to run companies, who have a lot of fire in the belly, who are very idealistic, who are very intelligent. I think we have to make use of them. They may not be in the radar of the powers that be now, but the powers that be should bring them up in the radar.
Yes.
And make use of them, because we are losing. We have these resources with us now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I did it when I was in the year 2000. I had all these young, 29-year-old people, and of course people were surprised. But now they are 50 and doing even better. But we have to take a risk, We have to take a risk.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that it should be 29. I did that with 29-year-old. But it should be 40 something.
Yeah.
They are. Just bring them up the thing. and they have the fire in the belly, they will do a lot for the king and
Yeah.
country. I think we have good people all
Yeah.
over.
I'm
Just make
sure
use
of
of
that.
them.
Yeah.
Make use of them.
Yeah. Tan Sri, I mean, we spent a good amount of time with you already. I just want to maybe touch on this phrase, education. Is education still that elephant in the room? What's your view?
This basically, I think education is what lifted us most because that fisherman in Bachok, for example, working so hard to put his children in school. The children went to school and became ministers or professionals, or doing very well in life because of education. Hard work on the part of the nelayan, he worked very hard. And his children worked very hard in school. The education system was great. And the government did well, brought them to MRS and other schools, sent them to the best universities. So it worked perfectly. It should continue to work because the government has been spending a good amount of time and effort. And the education ministry has the biggest budget in the whole country for a long time now. But I think we have to look at the education system because the education must give us knowledge, skills, and confidence. Knowledge, I think it generally we get. Now the government is going to skill because now more and more you need a certain amount of skill to find a good job. To give you one example, a chargeman who works in TNB or telecom and all that can easily earn 7,000-8,000.
Really?
Yeah, and there's not enough chargemen, and there's not enough facilities to train all chargemen. I tried to do it when I was in Putrajaya. So this one example, if the government say, okay, let's train a lot of chargemen, then this chargeman don't have to go to university, and this chargeman can grow by himself to get higher and higher certificate, some international certificate, and even much more. Another example, you know the people who dive underwater?
The surveyors, I mean.
No, the diver to repair the pipes and
yes,
all that.
Yes.
If you are at a certain level, international level, every time you dive, $3,000 sekali dive.
Yep.
Much more than the brain doctor. So there are a lot of these opportunities. The government, I think, is doing it. The government is now talking about Tibet. So this is very good. So you just get colleges and all that to train, and they can earn very good money. Don't really have to go to university, and that's one.
Yeah.
So that the government should do in a bigger way. Government is already doing it, but maybe even in a bigger way. The third is when you want the student to come out, has knowledge, has skill, we can do a lot of things, and then he need confidence to talk, confidence to present. This international. I think to need confidence, you need the command of the English language. So maybe the government should start the teaching English even in primary schools and give more hours so that it becomes a good second language. Malay, of course, everyone should be talking Malay. That's a given. But everyone should also be talking English.
Strong command of English.
Strong command, just like as if it's your second language. It's not impossible. You know, in Switzerland, which is similar to us, multiracial, I have seen in the dealing room a dealer take the phone and talk to someone in German. Next, Swiss German, slightly different.
Yes.
Next, French. Next, Swiss French, with slightly different. And then English.
Wow.
It's 5-6 languages. And can you imagine if when we go and say to people, I'm a Malaysian. Wow, you're Malaysian. You are that. Like what I said about Swiss. Oh, you can speak very good Malay, your language. You can speak English. I understand some people can speak Chinese and Tamil. So can you imagine a Malay going up there? He can speak 4 languages. He can speak Malay, English, maybe Arabic, maybe Chinese, or if not Chinese, Tamil. I think we should. I know it looks like people will say, I know what people will say, where do we have the time, the children are under pressure.
Well,
But
again,
can be done. Can be done.
the pragmatism, the determination, and maybe that is the elephant in the room that we sort of like, we always talk about education. I've had so many guests on my show also who are talking about elements of education, but that's another way of tackling it, lah.
Because the aim of education, as I said before, knowledge, skill, confidence. The confidence will have to come with language skills, and if not other languages, English, but also other languages. But English is key. Has to be from primary one, and so that the guy by the time he comes up, he can talk English as if it's his first language. It's not difficult, and most people, the people who really benefit from it, everyone but the Bumiputras. Bumiputras will be the biggest benefiter in this policy of giving greater element to English is the Bumiputra.
Wow. Gosh, Tan Sri, I mean, again, there's just so many thoughts that you are talking about, that I'm sort of like imagining how things can be even, and I don't think it takes a lot. It takes maybe those more of that determination and pragmatism just to get things going. Now, Tan Sri, of course, today, it's a much different world. Corporate Malaysia is different. It's got so many different types of challenges. From what you see, Tan Sri, maybe what are maybe one or two, how would I say, concluding words of advice to today's young leaders from where you sit and what you see?
So during the time when we were doing the GLC reform, which was basically from 2000 to 2015, we wanted to make sure that the GLC CEOs and the bosses had really fire in the belly. So that when you become the CEO of a GLC, it is not destination. It's not say, my aim in life is to be CEO of a GLC. I'm a CEO of a GLC. Well done. No, that is just a stepping step for you to do good. So all the leaders in GLCs, GLICs, government agencies, and also people in the private sector, they will have to do whatever they have to do based on the company KPI to make sure they have delivered, to keep the job, earn a good salary, earn a good bonus, right? But you are not any company. There's a G. There's a G there. You are government company. So beyond earning a good salary, your KPI, you have to do something for the king and country. What is it that you're doing for king and country beyond your normal thing? Then only the economy can grow. So my view is that there's quite a bit the GLCs can do beyond their normal work for king and country, and do it with a lot of fire in the belly. This is to do more, run the extra mile, and the government maybe can just coordinate to make sure this happens. Last time we had the Putrajaya High Level Committee, which either the PM chaired or I, Minister of Finance, to chair. I chaired 18 out of the 26. We meet 3-4 hours every other month. Make sure that everybody is aligned. We call the chairman of the GLC, chairman of GLIC, CEO of GLIC, CEO of GLC. Penuh, bilik penuh semua.
Yes, I
dekat
remember
4 jam
those days.
tiap-tiap kali, tiap-tiap meeting. So the government can carry on doing it, and put the fire in the belly.
Give the confidence, give the mandates,
and give the confidence, give the mandate, and make sure that everybody knows that beyond the KPI of the organisation, there's another KPI for king and country. Let's call that developmental KPI. So every GLC CEO has a normal KPI, the bread and butter KPI, operational KPI.
Over and above that.
But then he has a development KPI beyond his company to do good for the king and country. That's why it's called GLC, government. He's not an ordinary businessman. So you have to do that. And the government will have to do something. It's quite easy to bring it together. The government has not done it yet, but I hope they do it.
And again, I think it's, it then even trickles down not just to the CEOs, the boards of these companies who are, obviously learned and, and strong people in their own right to actually help to drive that attitude. Yeah. Wow, this is fantastic. Gosh, Tan Sri, I mean, we can go on for hours, and I just love the way that you share your thoughts in the form of stories. I think, first of all, thank you so much once again, Tan Sri.
Welcome.
I really am so happy that we finally had you on this podcast, and I hope all the listeners, I know that they will take pleasure in listening to this, and we wish you, Puan Sri, and the family well.
Thank you.
Continue to be that source of wisdom. I'm sure many are still coming to see you almost every day, if not to just listen to what your reflections are, because they're still so relevant today.
Thank you.
And we wish you well to all your family, all the way to your grandchildren.
Thank you,
We'll keep in touch, Tan Sri. Yeah?
Thank you.
You so much.
Thank you.
So, mashallah, we are so blessed to be able to listen to Tan Sri today. And I hope that all of you will take at least something from this. It's not meant to lecture or just to tell grandfather stories, but really to reflect on how we can be better, all with the right intention. So thank you so much for watching and listening us today. Please stay tuned to Cuba Cerita. Please also, if there are guests that you have in mind that we should encourage to also come onto this podcast, please let us know in the comment section. So till we see you again, we wish you well. Have a good day and the rest of the week ahead. Assalamualaikum. Salam sejahtera.